I got T-boned by an automobile while on my motorcycle, and it threw me off of my motorcycle. I was dealing with obviously multiple fractures, broken bones, etc. So I had spent 2.5 weeks in the hospital. I had 3 surgeries to try to save my foot. As the surgeries were happening, the doctors never really looked at my foot after the first surgery and was like, okay, amputation is what's going to happen. They kind of just, after the first surgery, was like, okay, so we just kind of had to reconstruct things. You should know that amputation might possibly be on the table, but we're going to do everything that we can to get that. And then the second surgery happened, and it was like amputation became more of an option. And then the third surgery, and they were just like, listen, like we could do this for the next 5-6 years. We could do 10 to 12 surgeries. Each surgery, you would basically have to just lay down and prep for the next surgery, or we could amputate. And it probably took me about 10 seconds to actually make a decision, and I just was like, oh, let's amputate, you know? And my thinking behind that wasn't, you know, oh, let's just take the easy way out, but 10 to 12 surgeries, 5 to 6 years, and at the best case scenario, I would be walking with a cane every day, have a completely fused foot, and it would give me pain all day, every day. Or I could amputate. And I didn't know much about being an amputee. I didn't know anybody that was an amputee, but I knew that there were Paralympic Games, and I knew that amputees were running marathons. And so for me, that always seemed like a much better option than to lay in a bed for 5 to 6 years. And then in hopes that something really, really great and positive would come. So for me, it was a very easy choice. Out of the hospital, and I was probably home for about a week, and I had gotten an email from our casting director, Luann, and she basically was reaching out to me because she did not know what state of mind I was in, but she was reaching out because she was going to contact me, and she had heard about what had happened to me. And so she just wanted to reach out, see how I was doing, and then she said if I needed any additional inspiration about getting back up, getting back to life, or anything like that, don't be afraid to come back to Vegas and come see the show, and come see her. And it just so happened to be that a month and a half later, we were in Vegas for a friend's birthday, and we had got tickets to come see the show, and because we had a mutual friend in the show. And so she had found out that I was coming, and that weekend actually was the weekend that they were doing the final callback for the show. And so I knew she was busy casting the show with the people that she needed to fill contracts for, etc. So I didn't really want to bother her too much, but she found out, and she was like, okay, let me give you a backstage tour. Let me give you and your friends a backstage tour. So I was like, absolutely, I would love that. So I came, and I was on crutches. I didn't have a prosthesis yet. So we were walking around the backstage, did everything like that, and then we were going to walk into the rehearsal room. And she said, before she opened the door, listen, I told the cast about you, and they would like to meet you. And so she opened the door, and the cast was sitting there, and obviously I was very overwhelmed, just at the simple fact that I did not have a prosthesis. I was still getting used to being an amputee. But she actually then told me that she had spoken to general managers, our health services team, our athletic training team, and basically had said that if I was still interested, as long as I could do what I did in my audition, I would have a job here at Reve. To the time that I re-auditioned for this show was 8 months. And that was because I just was so driven to get back here and to continue where I had left off. Because that was the turning point for me, is that it wasn't about getting back to life. It wasn't about just doing the everyday things for me. For me, it was picking my life up exactly where it had left off. think audience members always can see the fact that, like, we can see them. You know what I mean? Like, we can see you just like you can see us. So whenever I get reactions, sometimes, like, you'll have people, like, hitting the people next to them, like, pointing and stuff like that. And it never once actually makes me feel uncomfortable. If anything, it always kind of just, like, fuels me a little bit more, because it makes me more like I want to give you that show. You know what I mean? Like, it really does fuel me. But I mean, my job is, like I said, I mean, it's to perform this show as if, like, no one had ever known that there was an adaptive athlete in this show. Like, that's the challenge that I accept every single day that I come to work.